Hello everyone, it's Rich Michael Jones. Time for the Bible read for June 10th. Did some rearranging as you see. 1 Kings 7. Solomon also built a palace for himself, and it took him 13 years to complete the construction. One of Solomon's buildings was called the Palace of the Forest of Lebanon. It was 150 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. There were 4 rows of cedar pillars and great cedar beams rested on the pillars. The hall had a cedar roof. Above the beams on the pillar were 45 side rooms arranged in these tiers of 15 each. On each end of the long hall were 3 rows of windows facing each other. The doorways and doorposts had rectangular frames and were arranged in sets of 3 facing each other. Solomon also built a hall of pillars which were 75 feet long, 45 feet wide. There was a porch in front along with a canopy supported by pillars. Solomon also built the throne room, known as the Hall of Justice, where he sat to hear legal matters. It was paneled with cedar from floor to ceiling. Solomon's living quarters surrounded a courtyard behind this hall, and they were constructed the same way. He also built similar living quarters for Pharaoh's daughters whom he had married. From foundation to eaves, all of these buildings were built from huge blocks of high quality stone, cut with saws and trimmed to exact measures on all sides. Some of the huge foundation stones were 15 feet long and some were 12 feet long. The blocks of high quality stone used in the walls were also cut to measure, and cedar beams were also used. The walls of the great courtyard were built so that there were 1 layer of cedar beams between every 3 layers of finished stone, just like the walls of the inner courtyard of the Lord's temple with its entry room. King Solomon then asked for a man named Huram to come from Tyre. He was half Israelite, since his mother was a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and his father has been a craftsman in bronze from Tyre. Huram was extremely skillful and talented in the work in bronze, and he came to do all the metalwork for King Solomon. Huram was cast 2 bronze pillars, each 27 feet tall and 18 feet in circumference. For the tops of the pillars, he cast bronze capitals, each 7.5 feet tall. Each capital was decorated with 7 sets of lattice work and interwoven chains. He also enriched the lattice work with 2 rows of pomegranates to decorate the capitals over the pillars. The capitals on the column inside the entry room were shaped like water lilies and were 6 feet tall. The capital on the 2 pillars had 200 pomegranates, 2 rows around them besides the rounded surface next to the lattice work. Huram set the pillars at the entrance of the temple, one toward the south and one towards the north. He named the one on the south Jachin and the one in the north Boaz. The capitals on the pillars were shaped like water lilies, and so the workers' work on the pillar was finished. Then Huram cast a great round basin 15 feet across from rim to rim, called the sea. It was 7.5 feet deep and about 45 feet in circumference. It was encircled just below its rim by 2 rows of decorative gourds. There were about 6 gourds per foot all the way around, and they were cast as part of the basin. The sea was placed on a base of 12 bronze oxen, all facing toward 3 faced north, 3 faced west, 3 faced south, 3 faced east, and the sea rested on them. The walls of the sea were about 3 inches thick, and its rim flared out like a cup and resembled a water lily blossom. It could hold about 11,000 gallons of water. Hiram also made 10 bronze water carts, each 6 feet long, 6 feet wide, and 4.5 feet tall. They were constructed with side panels braced with crossbars. Both of the panel and the crossbars were decorated with carved lions, oxen, cherub. Below the lions and oxen were wreaths decorations. Each of these carts had 4 bronze wheels and 4 bronze axles. There were supporting posts for the bronze basin at the corner of the cart. These supports were decorated on each side with carvings of wreaths. The top of each cart had a rounded frame for the basin. It projected 1.5 feet above the cart's top like a round pedestal, and its opening was 2.25 feet across. It was decorated on the outside with carvings of wreaths. The panel of the carts were square, not round. Under the panel were 4 wheels that were connected to the axles that had been cast as one unit, while the wheels were 2.25 feet in diameter and were similar to chariot wheels. The axle spokes, rims, and hubs were all cast from molten bronze. There were handles at each of the 4 corners of the carts, and these too were cast as one unit with the cart. Around the top of each cart was a rim 9 inches wide. The corner supports and side panels were cast as one unit with the cart. Carvings of cherubims, lions, palm trees decorated in panels, and the corner supports wherever there was room, and there were wreaths all around. All 10 water carts were the same size and were made alike, for each was cast from the same mold. Hearn also made 10 smaller bronze basins for each cart. Each basin was 6 feet across and could hold 220 gallons of water. He set 5 water carts on the south side of the temple, 5 on the north side. The great bronze basin, called the sea, was placed near the south end corner of the temple. He also made the necessary wash basins, shovels, and bowls. So as Hiram completed everything King Solomon had assigned him to make for the temple of the Lord: the 2 pillars, the 2 bowl-shaped capitals on top of the pillars, the 2 networks of interwoven chains and decorated capitals, the 400 pomegranates that hung from the chains on the capitals, 2 rows of pomegranates for each of the chain networks that decorated the capital on top of the pillars, the 10 water carts holding the 10 basins, the sea and the 12 oxen under it, the ash buckets and shovels and bowls. Hiram made all these things of burnished bronze for the temple of the Lord, just as King Solomon had directed. The king had them cast in clay molds in the Jordan Valley between Succoth and Zarathan. Solomon did not weigh all these things because there were so many, the weight of the bronze could not be measured. Solomon also made all the furnishings of the temple of the Lord: the gold altar, the gold table for the bread of the presence, the lampstand of solid gold, 5 on the south and 5 on the north, in front of the most holy place, the flower decoration lamps and tongs, all of gold, the small bowls, lamp snuffers, bowl dishes, incense burners, all of solid gold, the doors of the entrance to the most holy place and the main rooms of the temple with their fronts overlaid with gold. So King Solomon finished all his work on the temple of the Lord. Then he brought all the gifts his father David had dedicated: the silver, the gold, the various articles, and he stored them in the treasuries of the Lord's temple. Nice. And the second read is in Acts 7. Thank God for Jesus. 40 years later, in the desert near Mount Sinai, an angel appeared to Moses in the flame of a burning bush. When Moses saw it, he was amazed in the sight. As he went to take a close look, the voice of the Lord called out to him, I am God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Moses shook with terror and did not dare to look. Then the Lord said to him, Take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground. I have certainly seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard their groans and have come down to rescue them. Now go, for I am sending you back to Egypt. So God sent back the same man his people had previously rejected when they demanded, Who made you a ruler or judge of us? Through the angels who appeared to him in the burning bush, God sent Moses to be their ruler and savior. And by means of many wonders and miraculous signs, he led them out of Egypt through the Red Sea and through the wilderness for 40 years. Moses himself told the people of Israel, God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among your own people. Moses was with our ancestors, the assembly of God people in the wilderness, when the angel spoke to him at Mount Sinai, and there Moses received living, life giving words to pass on to us. But our ancestors refused to listen to Moses. They rejected him and wanted to return to Egypt. They told Aaron, Make us some God who can lead us. We don't know what may become of this Moses who brought us out of Egypt. So they made the idol shaped like a calf. They sacrificed to it and celebrated over the things they had made. Then God turned away from them and abandoned them to serve the stars of heaven as their gods. In the book of the prophet it is written, Was it to me you were bringing sacrifices and offerings during those 40 years in the wilderness, Israel? No, you carried your pagan gods, the shrines of Moloch, the star of your god Rephan, and the images you made to worship them. So I will send you into exile as far away as Babylon. Our ancestors carried the tabernacle with them through the wilderness. It was constructed according to the plan God had shown to Moses. Years later, when Joshua led our ancestors in battle against the nations that God drove out of this land, the tabernacle was taken with them into their territory, and it stayed there until the time of King David. And David found favor with God and asked for the privilege of building a permanent temple for God of Jacob. But it was Solomon who actually built it. However, the Most High doesn't live in temples made by human hands, as the prophet says. Heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Could you build me a temple as good as that? Asked the Lord. Could you build me such a resting place? Didn't my hands make both heaven and earth? And reading out of Psalms 128. How joyful are those who fear the Lord, all who follow his ways. You will enjoy the fruits of your labor. How joyful and prosperous will you be. Your wife will be like a fruitful grapevine flourishing with your home. Your children will be like vigorous young olive trees as they sit around your table. That is the Lord's blessing for those who fear him. May the Lord continually bless you from Zion. May you see Jerusalem prosper as long as you live, and may you live to enjoy your grandchildren. May Israel have peace. Proverbs 16. Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained by living a godly life. Better to be patient than powerful. Better to have self-control than to conquer a city. We may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall. Oh, I said Gary hair. It's gray hair is a crown of glory.